Welcome to this tutorial video for Microsoft Excel 2019, a tour. Organizing data on a computer can be very time-consuming. In many cases, Microsoft Excel can make that easier. However, using Excel can be a bit overwhelming because of all of its functions. This video is designed to give you a basic understanding of how the software is organized with a specific focus on the ribbon. By watching this video, you'll be able to define Microsoft Excel, in other words, what it is and what it's used for, explain how the software is organized, as well as identify various parts of the ribbon. So first, let's begin by talking about what Microsoft Excel is. Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet software program that is used to store, organize, and manipulate data. Most often, people use Excel with numerical data, but it can be used with any information that is best organized in columns and rows. The bulleted list you see here contains examples of uses for Excel, but it is definitely not an all-inclusive list. Many people use Excel to do budgets for their household, to put information in tables, to keep track of statistics, as well as keep track of address books and membership lists. Let's take a look at what some of these spreadsheets might look like. So here you see an example of a budget spreadsheet. You'll see the months of the year across the row at the top, and you'll see categories of expenses over on the left-hand side. Figures are entered into the spreadsheet, and then totals are listed at the bottom for each category, so you can see how much money went out of your household for each month. Next, let's look at an example of a table spreadsheet. So as you can see here, this information is not numerical in nature, but text in nature. So this is a list of the new adult fiction books that Scenic Regional Library added to their collection in December of 2020. You can see that these are in columns and rows alphabetized by author. Here's an example of a statistics spreadsheet. This is a listing of classes that were delivered at Scenic Regional Library over the course of a year. So you'll see the dates of the classes, the names of the classes, how many people were enrolled, how many people actually attended, and then the percentage attended as a percentage number. Then at the bottom, additional statistics are calculated. Microsoft Excel can do all of this math for you as long as you set it up properly. And finally, let's look at what an address book spreadsheet might look like. Here we have lists of names, street addresses, city, state, and zip code. You could also use a spreadsheet like this for a membership list. All you have to do is add additional columns for whatever other membership data you'd like to capture. So as you can see, Microsoft Excel has very many uses, whether you're using it for numerical data or text data. So let's begin the tour now so I can show you where everything is located and what it's called. So up in the upper left corner, there is something called the Quick Access Toolbar. The Quick Access Toolbar is a customizable command menu. It is visible at all times while you're using Excel, and you can customize it to put different buttons, depending on what you use Excel for, on the toolbar. So if you can see this drop-down menu button, and you click on it, it lists various buttons that you can add to the customizable menu. So for example, if I want to add the Print Preview and Print button because I print a lot of the spreadsheets I create, I can click on that and it adds that button to the toolbar. If I decide I no longer want it, I can click on the arrow again, go down to that option, which now has a check mark in front of it, which indicates that it is on the toolbar, click on it again, and that button goes away. So you can add as many buttons as you want to the Quick Access Toolbar, and those will be the options that you will use in Excel most often so that they're right at your fingertips. Next, this area is called the ribbon. The ribbon contains all of the commands that you will need to perform the most common Excel tasks. The ribbon is divided into groups. So you'll see that this Home tab, for example, has a clipboard, a font group, an alignment group, a number group, etc. And all of these tabs can be clicked on, and they will contain different menus. We'll talk more about the ribbon in a lot more detail further on in the video. Below the ribbon, on the left-hand side, there's something called the name box. The name box tells you what cell, which are these boxes down here, you currently have selected, which is reported by a column letter and then a row number. So you'll see if I click on this cell right here, in the name box, it says that I have selected cell B2. If I change where I've clicked, say over here, then the name box changes to say that I have selected column D, row 3. Next to the name box is something called the formula bar. The formula bar is a field where you can edit or enter data that will also appear in the selected cell. Now, the formula bar comes in more handy when you're talking about having Excel do math for you. So for example, right now I have selected cell D3, and in the formula bar it shows me $350 because that is the number I entered. However, if I go down to cell D8, you'll see that this is $880. That's actually the result of a formula which I have written here. This equals the sum of cell D2 through D6, and it put the answer here. So formula bars come in more handy when you're asking Excel to do math for you, so that if you look at a number in a cell and it just doesn't look quite right, you can click on that cell and go up to the formula bar to see if maybe the formula was written incorrectly, so thus giving you a number that doesn't make sense. Next, we have all of the columns. The columns are groups of cells that run from the top of the page to the bottom, and they are identified by letters. So we have column A all the way over, and then over here we have the rows. Rows are groups of cells that run from the left of the page to the right of the page, and they're identified by numbers. Being able to identify column letters and row numbers comes in handy when you're trying to write formulas in Microsoft Excel to get Excel to do the math for you. Then, as I've alluded to before, all of these boxes are called cells. Cells are defined as individual boxes where the rows and columns intersect. Now, if you look to the bottom left of the screen, you'll see that the workbook is divided into tabs. These tabs can be called worksheets as well. So the tabs at the bottom of the screen are called worksheets, and you can click on them to switch back and forth between the different tabs. You can also add a worksheet by clicking this plus sign, and it creates a blank worksheet for you. And if you need to name that worksheet, it defaults as Sheet 1 or Sheet 2. But if you'd like to rename it, as I have for budget, table, or statistics, you simply need to point at that tab and right-click, and a menu comes up, and you can click on Rename. Then you can type in whatever you want to call that tab. Next, on the right-hand side of the screen, as well as the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you have the scroll bars. You can see on this budget spreadsheet that I have here, you can only see up to October. If you'd like to see November and December, you can use these scroll bars and click to move over. If you look at this list, you can see that the number of adult fiction books that Scenic Regional Library added to their collection is more than just this, so you may need to scroll down to see the rest of the information. So these scroll bars allow you to scroll left and right, as well as scroll up and down to see additional information in your spreadsheet. Next, underneath the scroll bars, we have the different page view buttons. This will change the way your data is displayed in this viewing window here. So right now we have the normal view selected, but maybe you want page layout instead. That shows you what it's going to look like on a printed page. There is also a page break preview, which shows you very small images so you can see where the information, when it prints, is going to be printed on another sheet. As you can see, the page break layout is very small. Most folks use the normal view because that is the biggest font that you can see in the viewing window, so it's much easier to see all of your information. Finally, in the lower right-hand corner, we have the zoom function. If the text or the data that you have in your spreadsheet is just too small to view, you can zoom in by either click, hold, and drag this little bar, and it blows things up for you. You can also click on the minus sign to zoom out, or you can click on the plus sign to zoom in. So this allows you to get the information that you have in your spreadsheet in a size that is comfortable for you to work with. So that's the tour of all of the basic components of Microsoft Excel. Now I thought we would move on to the ribbon, because the ribbon is where all of the commands are located for Microsoft Excel. So everything that you might want to do in the software program can be found somewhere in the ribbon. So as I stated earlier, the ribbon is divided into tabs. So we've got a File tab, a Home tab, an Insert tab, etc. Each one of these tabs is divided into groups. So we are on the Home tab right now, and the Home tab has a group for the clipboard, the font, alignment, number, styles, cells, and editing. Now, some of these groups may have additional functions that aren't actually displayed on the ribbon. There's only so much space to put those commands. So if you see in a particular group, for example, let's look at font, there is a down arrow in the lower right-hand corner of that group. If you click on that arrow, it brings up a pop-up window that has additional commands that would fit into that category. So if you're looking for a particular command in Microsoft Excel and you just can't seem to find it where you think it might be, you might need to click on that down arrow in the lower right corner of the group to see the additional commands. All right. Let's talk about each of these tabs and the general information that you can find on each one. So we'll start on the left-hand side with the File tab. Clicking on the File tab allows you to access all of the file functions. For example, you can open a file, save a file, print a file, close a file, etc. The most common functions that are used in the File tab are the Save command, which is the fourth one down, or the print command. Next, we have the Home tab. Clicking on the Home tab allows you to access some of the most commonly used functions in Excel, such as font formatting, number formatting, inserting or deleting extra rows and columns, and those are just to name a few. The font grouping allows you to color code things. You can change the text of your data to color code them. You can make things bold or italicized. You can change the font. So the font grouping is used a lot in Microsoft Excel. The alignment grouping is also used quite a bit because you can change where the text is aligned in the cell. So right now, all of this data is formatted to be aligned to the left side of the cell. But if you want it over on the right side, you can just click a button and it changes it to the right side. So that's used a lot as well. I would highly encourage you just to click around on the Home tab and see what these commands do. It's not going to hurt anything, and you can always use the Undo button in the Quick Access toolbar to undo anything that you don't like. The next tab is the Insert tab. Clicking on the Insert tab allows you to access a variety of features that can be inserted into a spreadsheet, such as illustrations, charts, symbols, and more. The most commonly used option in the Insert tab is Charts. So if you have a Microsoft Excel worksheet that has a lot of numerical data in it, you can take that numerical data and turn it into a visual chart. So this one is used quite a bit in Microsoft Excel. The next tab is the Page Layout tab. Clicking on the Page Layout tab allows you to access functions to manage and arrange your spreadsheets, such as the margins of the page orientation, so whether you have it in portrait or landscape, the page size, so do you want your spreadsheet printed on 8.5 by 11, or do you want it printed on 8.5 by 14, which is a legal sized page? Many more options exist here as well. The next tab is the Formulas tab. Clicking on the Formulas tab allows you to access a variety of formulas that you can use to manipulate numerical data in your spreadsheet. So in the Function Library grouping, these are all drop-down menus that have various formulas that you can use with your data. Let me just click on a few so you can see some of the functions. There are hundreds of different formulas that Microsoft Excel can do. So this will definitely require some playing around with just to see everything that's there. More than likely, you will probably only need to use a small percentage of the functions that are actually available. Next is the Data tab. In the Data tab, you can access various functions to use with your data, such as sorting and filtering. Sorting and filtering are probably two of the most common functions that are located in this tab. Next is the Review tab. Clicking on the Review tab allows you to access various editing and proofreading functions for your spreadsheet. The most common one used is the spelling and grammar check, so that's located over on the left-hand side. This will spell check your entire worksheet for spelling errors and for grammar errors. The next tab is the View tab. Clicking on the View tab allows you to access options for the way that the spreadsheet is displayed in the viewing window. In most cases, this isn't used very much because the most common buttons, the Page Break View, Page Layout, Normal View, those are the same buttons that are located down here on the right-hand side. So most people, if they want to change the way that the information is viewed, they use these buttons down here. There's also a zoom function here, but most people use the zoom function down in the lower right-hand corner that is always visible. So the View tab isn't used very much, but it is there should you need it. The last tab is the Help tab. So clicking on the Help tab allows you to access various help features that are embedded into Microsoft Excel. One of the interesting things it has in here is a show training button. So when you click on show training, if your computer is attached to the internet, it will open a web page that allows you to access tutorial videos, kind of like this one, although done by Microsoft, that you can watch to help you use Microsoft Excel more effectively. And then finally, there's the tell me what you want me to do. It's not a tab per se, but what it does is it allows you to find commands on the ribbon that you're just not finding. So let's say, for example, you want to insert a column into your spreadsheet, but you can't remember where to find that on the ribbon. You can simply type the command that you want, and it brings up suggestions. And if you click on one, it basically does the command for you without having to find it on the ribbon. So I'm going to undo that and go back to the Home tab. So Microsoft Excel is a program that can be used for so many different things, and it can be quite useful in a lot of situations that you might not have thought of initially. Hopefully by watching this video, you have kind of a foundational understanding of where the functions are in Microsoft Excel and which functions are available to you. The key to becoming successful with Microsoft Excel is practicing and playing with the program. Don't forget the undo button in the upper left-hand corner on your quick access toolbar, because if you click on something and then click on a function and decide that's not what you meant to click on, you just simply have to click on undo to take that function off. It will be your best friend. So don't be afraid to click on things, practice and play with the program, and you'll be a pro in no time. Good luck!